For those of us who've not met, I'm Jennifer Palmbush, the Human Resources Director for Livingston County. We have invited Mark Notley here with Municipal Consulting Services to present the employee orientation for the wage and compensation study. So I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thanks, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everybody. We've done 2 of these today, and I've been able to walk around and do my usual thing, but for purposes of taping this, I'm relegated to this area. I can't move from here. So it'll be a little stiffer than the other 2, but we'll get through it, and I'll give you all the information that you'll need to understand what we're doing with this study, and also to complete the job questionnaire, which we'll be needing you to do to help out with the study and to make sure that I understand your jobs accurately. We do a lot of these studies. I've done probably 25 of the counties, so I am familiar with how county operations operate, and with also how certainly to implement this kind of study for a county environment. The system that you have now was adopted in 2004, so it's 10 years old. And a lot has happened since 2004, including a lot of financial crises and probably downsizing and some changes in the organization and changes in some of your job duties and responsibilities. So this is an ideal time to do this type of study. This is 10 years after the other one, and we can update the job descriptions, get a more accurate representation of your jobs, and also update with the labor market, which obviously in 10 years has changed a lot. So 2 things I wanted to do today for you. First, to provide you with an orientation of how this study process works, and just generally and quickly take you through the various steps of the study. And then secondly, I have a job analysis questionnaire, which I know you brought with you, and I wanted to explain to you how to complete that questionnaire and hopefully do it in a way that's not very time consuming for you. So let's use this PowerPoint, and I can lead you through a little bit about what the study is all about. Now, when I look at this type of study, and this study in particular, we're talking about really 4 phases to the study. The first phase of the study, the classification analysis, really deals with understanding each and every one of your jobs. If I don't understand your jobs inside out and upside down, I'm not going to do a very good job for you. So we'll spend a lot of time during this study doing nothing else than learning what all of you do. We'll end up writing job descriptions, new ones that capture those duties and responsibilities. But as importantly, as we move on with the study, I'll have a solid understanding of what each of your jobs entails. The second phase of the study deals with a market analysis. In the past, for the 2004 study, and I think also for the 1994 study, the primary market comparables that were used were other counties. In 2004, they used 12 counties to compare you to. That's not going to change. We still have to decide which counties to use, and we'll be talking about that this afternoon. But for the most part, what we're looking at is continuing to compare your jobs to jobs in other Michigan counties. Ideally, counties that have a similar composition and organization structure and share some of the attributes in terms of growing and having some financial wherewithal. The third phase of the study is actually the crux of the study, and that's taking the 2 pieces, our knowledge of your job as well as our knowledge of the market, and putting together a new pay grade structure for you. That's going to ultimately replace the current pay grade structure, and as I mentioned, it'll be something that's up to date and current with the labor market. The last phase, phase 4, is actually something that is the responsibility of the county rather than our firm. We'll be providing some support analysis to guide implementation of this new system. But the board is going to have to decide exactly how it's implemented, when it's implemented, and with what conditions. But we'll do everything we can to support that process and make sure that they have the information necessary for informed decision making. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about each one of these phases so you understand what we're going to be doing over the next 4 months or so, and particularly with phase 1, what your role in the process is. There's 5 tasks that I've outlined that comprise the first phase of the project. Several of those have already been done, tasks 1 and 2. We kicked the project off on June 3rd with a meeting, and I've collected quite a bit of information already on what's currently in place. And that's important just to get that background information and understand what's happened and what's currently operative in terms of classification and compensation. So task 3 today, we're looking at project orientation, and when I finish that, we'll go over this job questionnaire, and I'll give you a sense of what we need in regard to your input. After those questionnaires are completed at the end of the month, they'll ultimately be returned to me, and I'll be coming back to set up interviews with the department heads and other supervisory personnel to go over the questionnaires and make sure I understand everybody's job and what's been submitted. As the last task in this phase 1, I'll be putting together new job descriptions for you. These will be ADA compliant job descriptions. They'll have a lot of detail that aren't in your current older job descriptions. I think as importantly, as I mentioned at the end of task 5, I'll know your jobs inside out, and we'll need that going forward to make sure that the project is done properly. So phase 2 will deal with the market itself, the market survey and market analysis, getting information from other employers, particularly counties, on what they pay for their positions, and also employee benefits. As I mentioned this afternoon, we'll be looking at market comparables and deciding hopefully on which ones we'll be using. Again, there are 12 now that are used, and I think we'll probably have a similar number, although the market grouping might change a bit from what it was last time around. The idea will be to find those employers that most represent jobs that are in this organization. In some of the other meetings we talked about possible supplemental surveys too. Some of the actually, few of the counties have building departments, so we may have to go outside to some of the larger cities and take a look at what they're paying for their building personnel. However it works out, we'll get the best information we can on what the labor market's paying. For the wage survey, we're going to be surveying 100 positions. There are about 200 positions that are under study, and that's a very broad sample. So we'll have a lot of wage data to apply back when we start putting the new system together. We'll also look at employee benefits, and those won't be used to put together the new pay grade structure. But it provides a little more information for both the employees and management about total compensation. We'll be surveying things like the time off granted to employees, premium co-pays for health insurance, the differences in the healthcare systems and the premium co-pays for employees, all of those types of things that also impact your compensation. That information will be included in the report, and it'll be really, again, supplementary information that will allow a little better picture of compensation issues. The survey itself will go out sometime after the interviews. They usually take about a month to 6 weeks to complete. As the data comes back from the counties, I'll input the data, we'll tabulate it. We'll be doing callbacks to make sure that what we get is accurate and we don't have unanswered follow-up questions. Essentially, we want to make this as complete as possible. So in Phase 3, we will put together the pay grade structure, and that encompasses a couple of different major tasks that we'll be doing. Some of you in this room have had reclassification requests in the past, so you're probably familiar with the concept of point factoring. If you've made a reclassification request in the past, essentially what you're asking for is for your point values to be increased so that possibly you might move into a higher grade. Well, we'll be doing something akin to that for this study, only we'll be doing it for the whole group. All 200 positions will be included in the point factor analysis. Now, the way that you do a point factor analysis is to assign points for different factor criteria. Some of those would be, for example, education. How much education is required for a particular job? A high school diploma or a bachelor's degree would have different point values. And whatever the position required, that would be the point value that was awarded. Experience for the job would be a second. Supervision under the position would be a third. Work environment would be another. There's more points certainly for a more demanding work environment. And on down the line. In total, we use 10 factors. And what I'll be doing is evaluating each one of the jobs based on all 10. So when I get done with all the jobs, I'll have a very large spreadsheet with a total number of points for each one of your positions. What we do then is cut the positions into particular grades based on the point totals. So right now you have about 20 grades in your system. You'll probably have a similar number to that for the new system as well. At the end of the point factor analysis, we'll have what will end up being our recommended grade structure for all of your jobs. All of your positions will be slotted in one of those grades. We'll then take the market data that we've collected and we'll apply it to the jobs in each one of the respective grades. That will result in pay ranges for each one of your pay grades. So at the end of this process, we have a new pay grade structure, all new grades, all new ranges, and we'll start doing some analysis then to figure out ways to see how that might be implemented and what the costs might be. Each one of the positions, your positions, will be evaluated with what's called a compa ratio, which is simply a little mathematical calculation of whether you're above or below the average pay for the market. We'll look at the whole group in aggregate, and we'll be able to provide the county with a lot of information on where everybody sits. Are you high? Are you low? And what are we going to do with this going forward?